Yeah, so the last thing that I wanted to talk about for when you're designing your tiny house for yourself, I guess, what are the next steps that you can take to go and build your tiny house? And so you've just exported your tiny house plans, and there are a few things that you can do. So there are the two options, of course, of getting your tiny house built by a builder or building your tiny house yourself. So if you want to get your tiny house built by a builder, the best thing that you can do is, of course, be prepared and have an idea of what your design should be. And you can take those PDF plans and use them to communicate with your builder. And they can very quickly understand what your design is all about, and they will be able to create a quote for you so you can understand how your tiny house might suit your budget, or what changes you might need to make sure that it works with your budget requirements. So this is a super handy way of saving a lot of time, because a lot of builders also have a design process. But if you don't have the budget for that design process, you might be able to just stick with the design that you have already and just save a little bit of time there. What you can do as well, there are quite a few builders that use the 3D Tiny House Designer Business, which is an advanced version from what the personal version is that you can use to design your own tiny house. The main difference being is that builders have more design slots, so they can design unlimited tiny homes and have a few advanced features to bring the designs to, professional level when you are a builder. But they can actually go and use the software to design the tiny house for you as well. And so it will, follow a similar process, I guess, from what you've seen. Ask your builder if they're using the 3D Tiny House Designer Business, and if they're able to help you work with them to design your tiny house for you. And the last option, of course, is to DIY your tiny house, which is the most adventurous method, of course. And my brother and co-founder of TinyEasy, Lauren, and his partner Eugene, also co-founder of TinyEasy, they built their tiny house themselves. And I'd say definitely was an adventure. It took around 2 years to complete the build, but that's because we were building TinyEasy at the same time, so it was a very busy time. But you can save a lot of money if you're building your tiny house yourself. And this means you might be able to get into your tiny house much sooner than if you would get your tiny house built by a builder. And the best thing you can do then is use the tiny house plans to talk to your manufacturers. Most of the time you will need to order different materials. So let's say you would need to order cladding or roofing, flashings. You would need to order joinery, maybe even get your tiny house steel framed, or get your trailer ordered, of course, as well. So you can use those plans to communicate with these manufacturers and save yourself a bunch of time, because it is much easier to communicate with a finished plan set and tell them, this is exactly what I want, can you please help me out and create this, rather than having to go ahead and communicate with a piece of paper and scribble on it. So that is the way that I would use the exported plans to communicate with your manufacturers when you're getting your tiny house built. All right, and that's that about the personal version for the 3D Tiny House Designer. I have one more section that's about the business version. So if you're not running a tiny house business or you're not a builder, then congratulations on completing the course and happy designing.